I would say the beginning of the game maybe changed, like significantly changed 4 or 5 times.
Right.
You know, the beginning of a game is always, you could almost do an entire documentary on just how Doom started.
They say that the first 15 minutes of a movie, the audience is very receptive. They're like, okay, what world do you want me to go to? Like, let's go there.
Take the idea that I am here to kill demons, and that's the story.
Like, it's making a statement. It really is about Doom, about what players want.
And you're either on board with us or you're not on board with us.
Opening levels come in all shapes and sizes, but most of them follow a relatively tried and true template. Introduce the story, teach the player how to play, and set the tone for the adventure ahead.
First impressions are critical for most games, but for a game with the amount of cultural baggage as Doom, this was even more important. Not only was Doom the latest game in a series that had defined the very genre it was in, but it was also called Doom. The 4 had been thrown out along with the 1.0 version, and with so much of the development focused on ensuring the game lived up to its name, the story of Doom always took a back seat.
In fact, the story was something the team struggled with for the entirety of Doom's development.
We're struggling with the story. We really did. It was the last thing to fall in place because the game's going first. Oh, levels fall into place, secrets fall into place, we've got the glory kills, we've got all this stuff. I'm like, how the fuck are we gonna put a story on this? You know what I mean? And like I said, it was getting in the way, you know, like, cause you stop the player and start trying to justify why he hates demons and everybody loses their shit. Most stories, they say the bad guys have to take something away from the good guy in order for the audience to understand that the bad guy's bad. You know, they took away RoboCop's life, essentially, you know, the bad guy takes away his ability to be with his family, you know, so we see that when he murders him. So we're like, oh, the demons, like, well, you land on Mars and then you don't know it's demons yet, and then you find out it's demons, and oh my God, and somebody even asks, like, what do you think they are? And they're like, I think they're demons, you know? and then that's what we did, we laughed. Because we were like, that is ridiculous, you know, like, who cares? Like, you know, they have pointy teeth, they might be vampires. You know, like.
We had versions that took minutes to get to killing the first demon because kind of as a developer, you feel like, you know, we have to explain stuff to the audience. How are they gonna know what to do? How are they gonna, you know, and even when you kind of run it through like people outside of the studio, that you get feedback like, well, what's my justification for doing this? Why am I, you know, we actually even had a focus tester, like, why do I want to kill demons? You need to tell me why I'm gonna, those are the easy ones. You're like, it's a flipping demon. You'll want to kill it.
So there was a tutorial level where a guy stood in front of you, you know, and told you what to do. How things work, that was awful. There was just so much stuff, like Olivia lecturing in front of you as she paced back and forth and you were stuck in your chair. And then we wanted it like you'd find out like they murdered someone or like they took something away from you, and all of it was like, oh my God, like who cares?
Every time we did something in a more, you know, we added more exposition, or we tried to explain ourselves a little bit more, or we tried to lead the audience by the nose or by the hand through something. It never felt right. There was a moment where we were working on that, where kind of came to the thing like, somebody who knows Doom, they're coming to this with the attitude, I'm here to kill demons. The exact same thing that the player is thinking, because there's always this idea that in Doom, the player feels like the Doom Marine, like they are the Doom Marine. So it's like, take the idea that I am here to kill demons, and that's the story. The beginning of Doom 2016 was really informed by kind of where we were at with the development of the entire game. And again, this is pretty far into development. I mean, we're talking like in the last year of development, right. Maybe even less, maybe in the last 9 months or so.
The story of the first level of Doom is in fact the story of the team finding the tone of the game. The combat loop of Doom had been discovered relatively early on. We'll talk more about that in the next video. But the tone of the game, its wonderful self-aware narrative, that came much later.
It all started with what many might consider an entirely disposable part of the package, when Hugo and external writer Adam Gascoigne tried to write the codex.
Adam Gascoigne came in to help us out with the writing and stuff like that, and Adam would pitch some, we'd give him that direction, and he'd do some stuff, and we knew that I wanted the codex to be like a nerd Bible. Like, basically what you were doing is you were a Comic-Con geek going around the world filling it with pages, so by the end you could sit there and go through it and just till your heart's content. I love that stuff. On Pacific Rim, there's a forum, and you know what kind of metal Gypsy Danger is made out of, and who made his engine. In the Gundam universe, they just nerd out about that stuff. I love that shit. Like, I could read that shit for days.
The original codex was a guidebook to the UAC, a sacred scripture for all things Doom. But according to Hugo, it was too dry, even to his geekish sensibilities. So Hugo did what he did whenever he hit a creative brick wall. He looked to other forms of art for inspiration.
And for Hugo and Marty, inspiration came from the strangest of places.
Hugo's great with movie references, and probably one of the early ones was where that self-awareness began to really take shape was The Last Boy Scout.
It came out at a time when the whole concept of doing a buddy cop movie, action movie with Bruce Willis was so cliche, because he'd already, we had Lethal Weapons and Die Hards. And the writer, I believe is Shane Black, I think, he did an amazing job in that he knew it was cliche, and he let the audience know that they knew. Like, it was just, and they would make these little comments, and I remember as a kid, it just made it all okay. It was so smart, being self-aware. It was like this wonderful scene. The bad guy Milo walks in, and he's like, we should introduce ourselves, and Bruce Willis is smoking a cigarette. It's when Bruce Willis was awesome.
And Bruce Willis says, so you're the bad guy, right?
He's like, I am the bad guy.
He's like, so I'm really supposed to be, I guess I'm supposed to be scared or something like that. And he's like,
something like that. And he's like, yeah, I'll quake in my boots in a minute. And as a fan, I was just like, this is awesome, because I was totally ready for some super cliche scene, and he just took the sauce right out of it.
And it's this great moment in like a massive Hollywood movie. At the time, it was like one of the biggest, I think it was like the most expensive script ever optioned at that time. It was such a good example, and again, it was kind of Hugo threw it out there, and I was like, yeah, you can be really self-aware and make it work.
We were like, let's just, everybody knows. Like, we know, they know, everybody knows, so let's play with that. Let's say, what if a corporation was totally like, because you're expecting the game to be like, maybe it's an occult, and it's a secret, and no one knows. How about as soon as you walk in, it's playing on a fucking megaphone, like, we need volunteers for the Revenant program. We're gonna turn people into demons, And the idea was that hell had already taken over. So like when you're talking to somebody who's like full-blown nuts about something, they got that glassy look in their eyes, and you're like, you're really scaring me with the stuff you're saying right now? So it was a little bit of a play on that. It just being so out and about with your crazy, that seemed very liberating, just for me, for everybody. Adam comes back, because he would stay with us for a couple weeks at a time, and I pitched it to him. I was just kind of like, what, they know, they're just, and they're proud of it, because let's say the demons have already kind of, because hell influences everybody, so like they've already become members of the occult, and they're not even aware of how crazy they are. We painted this scene to kind of sum up the way it was, is that they have board meetings about human sacrifices to summon the gods, or like who's going to donate, their heart to the next, summoning of the next Baron, and they have interns applying for this stuff, and there's like, posters in the lunchroom about Mancubus programs, and like we just kept going with it. Adam's cracking up. He's like, and he just, it's right when it's very much like being a comedian. You kind of put it out there, and if the audience laughs, you're like, okay, so. We put it out there, and Adam's like, dude, he's like, this is awesome. Like, we could do this, So he comes back, and he's like, I'm gonna take the first half of the Codex entries because they're coming stages. And the first one you unlock, like on the Imp or whatever, or like the facility, is gonna be kind of the straight line, because most cults, they're kind of normal up front. They're just like, yes, everything's fine. It's about finding yourself. And no, there's no weirdness going on, And then you get to like the 7th level, 4 years in, and you get handed the book, and you're like, this shit is nuts. Like, what is going on? So he's like, let's make the second entry be like the Black Book, right, that only like certain advocates can get, and we'll like reveal the crazy to them. And the first one he gave me was the one, curl up in a ball and basically kiss your ass goodbye if you get attacked by an imp. dude, I lost it. I'm like, this is it. I'm like, just, you found the gear, break the shifter off, we're staying here. You know, like this is it. And so he kept doing that. And it was like slightly normal corporate agenda. Oh, this is the access to the Black Book, which is totally fucking nuts. Because that was right about the time when the whole story kind of fell into place. Like literally that was about when from that came Demonic Invasion in Progress, you know? All this kind of happened at the same time, because believe me, our hair was on fire. It was sort of like, the story still doesn't work.
How much is left on?
Oh my God, it'll make us seem irresponsible if I tell you how much time is left. And I gotta be honest, like, our asses were out there. I mean, like, we were putting ourselves out there, like, sort of like, but why not? I mean, when you're making something, I'd rather go down swinging for the fences than bunting. Like, fuck that, you know? Like, who cares? I'm not hitting singles. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, just, home run, you know? Go all the way. So, like...
Was there a worry that you were, like, sort of making a joke out of this, like... I mean, it's Doom, right? It's like, people love this thing, and they've loved it for, like, 20 years,
yeah.
and you're, like, putting all this... Was there a little bit of reticence? Like, oh, maybe we're doing too much with this?
I think the brand was so easy to work with. It was like the most pliable clay for a sculptor to work with. I mean, it's Doom. Every time we worried about that stuff, which was totally fucking valid, you look at the sprites going, brr, and like the stuff, you know what I mean? And you're just like, we could do anything, you know? Like, have you seen the stuff that goes on in Doom? We would say that, we just play a game, and I'm like, yeah, let's just do, he's got a rabbit. Like, you know, like, who cares? There's a rabbit on a stake in one of the games, like, let's just go to town.
With a clear direction in mind, Hugo and the team went back to the opening level with a hatchet, cutting what no longer worked and adding the flavour of their new self-aware tone. What we're going to do next is take you on a creative journey through that opening level, rising out of the sarcophagus, grabbing your candlelit suit, the glory kill tutorial, engaging the first gore nest, and a short elevator ride to Mars. A series of rooms that can be completed in a couple of minutes, but rooms that took the team every ounce of what little energy and production time they had left on the project.
They say that the first 15 minutes of a movie, the audience is very receptive and they're very open to, like, they're like, okay, what world do you want me to go to? Like, let's go there. You have about 15 minutes to convince me that to what the world is. And then if you break that later on, the audience gets, like, super upset. So we knew that, like, that opening, we kind of treated it like that. It was like, we're gonna set the tone for the whole game. It's an action-first game. The beginning has to be action. If we open with like a tutorial where people are talking, they're gonna be like, okay, it's that type of game. So there's the little scripture in the beginning that says, "May we never need you again," you know, blah blah blah. That kind of set the tone that there's like this biblical force, the Doom Marine. It's kind of got that flavoring. And hopefully people tasted the cheese. Like there's like a layering of cheese to all this, and it's like, we kind of wanted people to just exhale and be like, let's just have fun. Like, seriously, like, we know this is ridiculous, you know this is ridiculous, like, good, can we shake hands on this and just like have fun? Cool. So it starts with that little scripture, and from the Korax tablets, which again, the Korax tablets, like, what are the Korax? I don't know. You know, they're just awesome. There's some awesome text somewhere that says awesome stuff on it. Totally metal, you know, yeah. Like absolutely. I grew up with that shit. Like my brother, big time metalhead, made me listen to the Iron Maiden stuff. Some of the first drawings I ever made was the Iron Maiden covered albums. I remember the opening to Iron Maiden's 666 song with like Vincent Price says that thing, the number of the beast. I'm like, dude, the game should start like this, you know, like this would be awesome.
You know, one of the animators, Alan Rogers, he was the one that kind of like, you know what, you put the zombie there and like
the little touches that he grabs and
then you smash him on the table.
And you just geek out to it. Me and Marty are like freaking out, like, oh my God, that's awesome. Put that in the game, you know?
Like all those little nuances, that's probably the best example of just when everybody just kind of starts clicking.
And then as soon as you land, I love watching the Twitch feeds because the players are like, oh my God, I'm playing, you know? Like, but that was good. It was like Doom, like boom, right in your face. Ruthless efficiency. Like that was kind of like the motto. Like say everything with as little as you possibly can. If you don't care, just don't even look at it. Don't even look at the echo. Like who cares what that sarcophagus is? In RoboCop, in a good action movie, the characters kind of learn about who the hero is by what people say about him or to him. So in RoboCop, when you're slowly being made into RoboCop, which is one of the most phenomenal sequences I've ever seen, you know, everybody knows it. You know, it goes black, and then they put the lens on and all that stuff. We studied that, and it was sort of a big inspiration for the intro to Doom. And there's this great scene where like, just the moments where he goes to shake his hand and he crushes his hand. She's like, that, 1,500 pounds of foot pressure. He could crush every bone in your body. And you're like, RoboCop's just a fucking badass, dude. And then the guy goes up to him and he like rubs his hand. He's like, you're gonna be one bad, mother effer. And that, I just cursed. I don't know why I said mother effer. Right there, you knew RoboCop's badass. And the way that they go into his tracking and everything, they just indirectly are telling the audience, RoboCop's super badass. Everything he does is going to be awesome. So when you see him walk into that grocery store and he just aims and shoots, there's all this subconscious stuff going on of like, he's just not a guy. Dude, he's got a targeting system. It's fucking crazy. Like, wait till he picks up that guy. It's 1,500 foot pressure. He'll crush his hand. So when you woke up in the way that they were bowing to him, you're like, people bow to me. That's how badass I am. And I'm just sleeping, And later on, when you touch the Slayer's testaments, and they talk about you like you're a god. I mean, that is basically that actor leaning forward to RoboCop and being like, you're gonna be one bad motherfucker. Like, they're basically saying like, he's this wrecking machine. We have to seal him away. It's just so funny when you got to the suit and you walk out and you want to see it again. It's just Giant Bomb wrote this great article and listening to their podcast and other people's podcasts. I love when they get it. Like. Right. Because some people looked at it and they're like, this is ridiculous. Why is this thing with candles? And just let it go. Let's just have fun.
We knew from the very beginning we wanted to show the suit, because we never really wanted to go out of first person. We didn't want to do third person cutscenes and all that kind of stuff. So we wanted you to really understand kind of what you looked like and who you were.
But honestly, like, you need your characters in your story to take the ridiculous seriously. It's okay if I laugh at it, the audience, but you want them to, when they're bowing, they're not like giggling, it's very serious. So it's kind of that balance.
The area where we're the least subtle about it is kind of the whole, demonic invasion in progress. It's, that's ridiculous, it's absurd, but there's a self-awareness there that like, don't pretend this is some plague outbreak or anything like that. It's like, these are demons, from the jump, and that's what you're there to do.
The phrase demonic invasion in progress is meant to we're saying something to the audience. We're literally like handing them a ticket for a train ride. We're like, are you ready to go? Because like we're gonna leave right now. Like we just forget it. Like, they're demons, I know they're demons. We both want to shoot them in the face. Let's just go. And that's cool. And then when the guy comes in, delivery, the exposition, the rules, like, let's talk. I'm going to give you orders and you're going to go push buttons. And he just throws it away, And we purposely wrote that in a way that, like, right at the moment that the audience is like, ah, oh, fuck this guy. And then Doom Marine's just like, whoosh, and just like, nice. I was thinking the same thing.
We want the player to know that we are respecting their intelligence. And we want them to know that we know that they're there to play a Doom game and they're there to kill demons. So we wanted to have this connection. But at the same time, it's a pretty risky choice. It's a pretty bold decision to say, like, we're going to start some exposition like every other game does and like every player expects, and then we're going to just throw it away. Literally, we're going to grab it and we're going to throw it aside. And is a player going, because they're not making a choice in that. We like to give player tons of choices, but this was one of the ones where we basically said, we're making a choice for you, and you're either on board with us or you're not on board with us. But that notion of respecting the audience enough to say, you're here for a purpose. It's a little wink and a nudge to say, we're throwing the story straight out, and you're here to kill demons, so go kill demons.
And you get the tutorial, you go through, you get introduced to the first bit of arena combat, and that's really interesting because we had a rule. If you stand in place, you're dead, So that imp room is meant to teach you that. Like, you're skipping around, you're learning the mechanics, you're learning the imps, which is one of my favorites. You meet the first gore nest. What I love about the gore nest is, which is funny because in a lot of games, and we had discussions about this, in a lot of games the gore nest would be something you avoid. Like, it would be like, oh, that's the thing, avoid the thing, ah shit, I triggered the thing, and it starts the fight. The Doom Marine's looking for a fight. It is literally like a T-bone. When he sees that thing, it's a T-bone steak and he's a tiger. He's just like, cool, because I love starting fights, Like, my favorite thing is to kill demons, Does this start that? Great, when he goes in and he just rips it apart. So the blood, pops out, there's this huge scream and then boom, like the fight's off. But we were betting on the audience that that's what they wanted to do. We had one or two people say, oh, well, should I avoid these? This is early during tests, and we're like, I don't think anybody who paid $60 for a Doom game is going to avoid a fight. Then there was that, and then when you walk through the hallway, and she says, we have to contain this, he could ruin everything. That's that subtle indirect storytelling, like just super lean, very, very efficient. I love the idea that she would say he could ruin everything, because again, it is the RoboCop scene of him leaning in saying like, you're a bad motherfucker. It's basically saying like, I'm powerful and I'm feared, which makes the player feel powerful. And I just kicked the shit out of a bunch of imps. I mean, that was amazing. Yeah, when you go into the elevator, it was just timing. To get stuff to work, I mean, video game development is not easy. To get stuff timed to the point that when the elevator opens, the shotgun cocks and the music is right there, with the lag this and the timing of that and the frame rate this, and holy cow. Like, it's literally 3 in the morning at Jerry's desk, and we're all sitting there like pale, like the timing is off. We have to get this fixed. Like, this was Marty's suggestion when he glances down at the body, when the guy says, it was worth the risk, I assure you, and he like looks, or clearly things have gotten out of hand now or whatever, and he glances down. I love that little touch.
The button smash and then the shotgun cock is very much him kind of giving the finger to the idea that this was all worth it, and it's not. It's like, it's demons, and I'm gonna kill them all because that's what I do.
I mean, if I could I think about it, it's like the textures broke on the glass, then we fixed the textures, then it broke again, then to get to the thing, then there's no sound. Like, it's just crazy. When you finally went into the box, you're already like, don't breathe on it. Like, it works. Don't even look at it.
The opening level of Doom is a great achievement in design. It does everything on our opening level checklist. It introduces the story, teaches the player how to play, and sets the tone for the adventure ahead. Once you cocked the shotgun and walked out of the elevator, you knew what type of game you were playing. And in our next episode, we're going to show you how they put all that together.
In part 3, we talk to the team about designing combat chess and chat to Mick Gordon about reimagining one of the most iconic video game soundtracks.
One of my favorite things about the intro is it is the great example of the teamwork that was involved in making this, because everybody from every department contributed something totally awesome to this. It was just constantly getting plussed every time somebody put their hands on it. We all like high-fived. It was one of the last things we did, and I think throughout any project, you're kind of learning how to work like a team. So by the very end, we were a team. Like, we knew how to get shit done and work together. And I mean, as painful as it was to throw stuff out, Brandon Souders, who was the level designer on the intro level, it required an incredible amount of patience, but he was totally down and he kicked major ass. I mean, it's a huge credit to him, the work that he did. And movies, I love when they take the time to put the juice into the character. I think that Jaws is powerful because they spend so much time talking about how badass Jaws is, and they build him up, and he's the thing, and oh my God. And so, like, we were doing that with the Doom Marine. I love when they do that. Like, when the hero pulls out his special gun, don't just pull it out and shoot somebody. I want to know that was made out of special metal, that was forged by some fucking samurai dude, like you know what I mean? And slowly pull it out and the gleam off the thing. Like, that's really what we were doing. We were like milking it, like building up the legend of the Doom Marine. And the level that Souders had put together immediately following that, I thought was wonderful. It introduced you to secrets, a little key card action, which I'd love to talk about more later. And I love that it all ends with, again, that little subtle nod. You just blast into it, it says the thing about the 221 accident-free days. You're just like, I just had a lot, we just caused a lot of havoc, and he just makes that little comment. But it's just on the side, it's very, very much out of the way. But I think it maintains that tone, like that complements the fact that I'm ripping people's arms off and beating them to death with it. I think that's what felt right. All the puzzle pieces kind of coming together make like a Doom experience.